Most teachers are looking for a textbook that will tick every box for them. This is what we've tried to achieve with Nelson English for QCE, a textbook that provides a close link to the syllabus and refers to the syllabus objectives and terminology. We speak syllabus, Queensland syllabus. We, the authors, Ellie Housden, Virginia Ailiff, and Grace Lloyden, believe our book is what teachers need to guide students through years 11 and 12 in English. We've selected texts that fulfill 21st century skills of critical thinking, communication, and personal and social skills. These are linked to technology and ICT expertise. Look at the teacher notes and contents page, and you'll see we've fulfilled the criteria for text selection in Units 1 and 2. Students must study at least 3 or 4 mandated text types. 1 complete play, 1 complete prose text, that is, a novel or non-fiction or a collection of short stories, a selection of poetry, at least 5 poems, and a multimodal text that may include a film, television program, documentary, or multimedia. At least one of the texts studied must be Australian. We've advised teachers on assessment and text selection. Look more closely at the contents page and you'll see that as there are no specifically prescribed text for Units 1 and 2, we've chosen a variety of traditional, contemporary, and Australian texts that fit the criteria. The texts we've chosen include Australian text. For example, we explore Indigenous issues such as the Secret River, the Drover's Wife and Jasper Jones, and individual poems. Other texts that we've chosen have included the murder mystery The Dry, and we have also chosen a refugee text that deals with multicultural issues such as the Happiest Refugee. This text certainly ties in closely with the film Lion. Other contemporary texts, like the environmental documentary Blackfish, the TV series The Good Doctor, the crime novel The Dry, as mentioned earlier, and the curious incident of the dog in the night, blend well with other texts such as The Crucible and Animal Farm. These texts represent a blend of popular texts for study in Queensland schools with some innovation. We believe that this selection will engage both students and teachers. These choices provide challenging opportunities for formative assessment, as well as the acquisition of the required skills for Year 12 and summative assessment. The book is divided into 3 sections. We offer teacher notes at the beginning to briefly outline what students and teachers can do to prepare for their study. In Part 1, we outline what you need to know. This section introduces students to Senior English in 5 generic chapters. These cover key concepts aligned with the syllabus objectives. In Chapter 1, we look at understanding genre and provide a matrix of the purpose and features of text types used for close study in each of the units. In Chapter 2, we look at terminology, the words that you need to know. We define and explain the terminology used in the syllabus, the words that students will need to know and use to analyse texts for assessment purposes. Chapter 3 then looks at analysing texts and provides a guideline for the analysis of texts, what to study and how to respond. Chapter 4 is a closer examination of characterisation, and we identify the ways that characters are created in texts and how to analyse this textual element. Chapter 5 is a chapter that looks at the aesthetic features and stylistic devices. It discusses writing style and techniques that students will need to analyse and use in their own writing. These 5 chapters are designed to build the foundation of students' knowledge and appreciation of text, as well as creating a useful reference to be referred to throughout the course. Part 2 is then linked to Unit 1 in the syllabus. We have chosen texts that help students and teachers create responses for public audiences and persuasive texts. If you have a look at the table, you'll note we have selected a play, some prose, and multimodal texts. There are other texts used for comparative purposes. The texts are covered in depth in chapters and are activity-based with assessment suggestions. In Part 3, which is linked to Unit 2 in the syllabus, we look at a range of texts and we study those for the purpose of considering imaginative written responses and analytical written responses. Again, the texts we've chosen are from the play, prose, multimodal and poetry elements suggested in the syllabus. The texts are analysed in depth for their contextual and textual features, and they are activity-based with assessment suggestions. There are glossaries included in the margins of each of these chapters, and a much more detailed glossary is located at the end of the book. At the conclusion of each unit, we have offered some chapters that look at the sorts of assessment you might like to consider for the text that you've chosen. At the end of Unit 1, we've looked at written texts for a public audience and a persuasive spoken response. In this activity-based approach to assessment, we've provided opportunities for students to engage in understanding those text types and how to go about writing them. Similarly, in Unit 2, at its conclusion, we've included the same sort of detail for imaginative written responses and analytical written responses. We are excited by the prospect of teaching these texts ourselves and with sharing our vision and our resources with our colleagues in Queensland schools.